वेटिंग रूम ऑफ करूं? Just-
कर दें।
okay.
डेट्स मुझे बता देना सब सेशंस की प्लीज। कोई व्हाट्सएप भेज दे मुझे वो तस्वीर जो है।
Okay.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। हसन आप भेज दें लिंक सबको। जी बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम।
जी सर।
आपने Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah everyone. Today's session is the purpose of today's session is simple. We are just about to walk into tomorrow's first session of the United Kingdom, inshallah, in Crawley. आपको सबको updates देनी थी about our UK awakening tour और उसके बारे में किसी किस्म की कोई information हो आप मुझसे पूछिए। मेरी टीम भी इस वक्त लाइन पे है और कोई और दिक्कत आ रही है इन सेशंस के बारे में जानने में या कुछ और क्वेश्चन हो आपका about the tour, please keep it to the English tour. क्वेश्चंस को इसी पॉइंट पे मरकूज रखें ताकि जिन लोगों की कंफ्यूजन है या आपके क्वेश्चन की वजह से कोई और सवाल जहन में आता है तो वो लोग पूछें। जी आप लोग माइक अनम्यूट कर दीजिए सबके। जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
वालेकुम अस्सलाम व रहमतुल्लाह।
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Ji sir, can I ask a question?
Yes please, sure.
Yes. So sir, my question is, first of all, sir, welcome to the UK.
Thank you.
And secondly, I want to ask that I was thinking that in the session from 6:30 to 10:30, means it is a 4-hour session. So what will be the content of the session? What will you cover? Means it's a long session. So what will be the content?
नहीं आप मुझे नहीं समझ आ रही किस सेशन की बात कर रही हैं आप?
सर ये जो आपका सेशन होगा ना ये रॉमफोर्ड में ईस्ट लंदन में, सो मैंने इसकी टिकट्स बाय किए हैं। इट्स अ लॉन्ग सेशन, सो आई वांट टू आस्क कि जो पहले भी मैं आपकी ऑलमोस्ट हर वीडियो हर जो सेशन है वो मैंने सुना हुआ, सो व्हाट विल बी द न्यू अबाउट दिस सेशन? तो इस सेशन में आप क्या डिस्कस करने वाले हैं?
आपने मेरे सारे सेशंस देखे हुए हैं?
ऑलमोस्ट
कोई एक सेशन भी रिपीट हुआ है इसमें पहले?
नहीं सर, एंगल तो और डिफरेंट ही होता है, दैट्स व्हाई नए सेशन को देखने का दिल भी चाहता है। सो एक्चुअली नहीं, मुझे किसी ने पूछा था कि इतना लॉन्ग सेशन है तो इसमें हम क्यों जाएं, तो मैंने कहा कि नहीं एंगल तो अच्छा होता है हर बार, तो आई थिंक सो कि इस बार भी अच्छा ही होगा, तो आप लोग चलें साथ। तो दैट्स व्हाई मैं पूछ रही हूँ कि कोई पूछे कि
मैं
इतना
बताता
लंबा
हूँ।
सेशन है।
No, I will tell you. मैं बताता हूँ यूके टूर के पूरे डायनामिक्स क्या हैं, स्ट्रक्चर क्या है वो मैं आपको भी बताता हूँ। It's a good question. جی صرف ایسٹ لندن کا نہیں. I do not know the names of the places. مجھے بس بڑا نام بتائیں, جیسے ایسٹ لندن آپ نے بتایا. I do not know the specific area. Okay. وہ I'm not used to England. This is my first time in England. So general concept پورے awakening tour کا, اور especially English focus کیا ہے اس میں, انگلینڈ کا فوکس ہم نے کیا کیا ہوا ہے, کس طرح کے پورا آرکیسٹرا میں آپ کو بھی سمجھاتا ہوں آف دا awakening tour in England. Okay. انشاءاللہ میں بھی بتاتا ہوں. جی جی اور کوئی کوشچن کسی کا تو مجھے پوچھیں. آپ لوگوں کو ڈیٹس کا پتا ہے؟ آئی ہوپ ایوری ون نوز دا ڈیٹس آف ایوری سیشن اینڈ
yes sir.
اوکے. جی
السلام علیکم سر.
وعلیکم السلام ورحمۃ اللہ.
سر میں آپ کو کافی عرصے سے سن رہا ہوں, تو ابھی کچھ عرصے سے آپ اس پر فوکس کرتے ہیں کہ فائنینشیل پاور پکڑیں, پولیٹیکل پاور پکڑیں آپ لوگ. اب جیسے میں یو کے میں ہوں, کارپوریٹ جاب کرتا ہوں, تو فائنینشیل پاور پکڑنا یہ, کیونکہ میرے ذہن میں پھر یہ آتا ہے کہ رسک تو ہمارا ظاہر ہے اللہ تعالیٰ کی طرف سے, پھر یہ آپ کس اینگل سے بات کرتے ہیں نا فائنینشیل پاور, یعنی کہ اس کا مطلب ایک تو یہ ہو سکتا ہے کہ میں ایسے لوگ جو آلریڈی فائنینشیلی اسٹیبل ہیں میں ان پہ فوکس کروں کہ وہ ہمارے مشن کو سمجھ سکیں. تو آپ اس اینگل سے بات کرتے ہیں, یا آپ اس کو کائنڈلی تھوڑا سا ایکسپلین کر دیں.
تھوڑا سا نہیں, کافی ایکسپلین کرتا ہوں میں. بہت اچھا سوال ہے. سی دا ریئل آپ نے آسٹریلیا کے اندر ہم نے نا جب اویکننگ ٹور کو کانسیپٹ انلیش کیا نا, اس کو بلڈ اپ کریں گے انگلینڈ کے اندر, بیکاز یہ چیٹ میرے سامنے چلیں وہ آتی رہے گی پھر تو. میری اسکرین پہ چیٹ آ رہی ہے, پلیز چیٹ کو ذرا 1 سیکنڈ کے لیے ہولڈ کیجیے گا, ضروری بات ہے. سب سے پہلے تو یہ سمجھ لیں کہ فائنینشیل اسٹیبلٹی جو ہے نا کسی بھی قوم کی, اکنامک کنڈیشن جو ہے وہ اکیلے میں نہیں بنتی. ٹھیک ہے, یہ کانسیپٹ میں نے دینا ہے. I think in the last part of the tour of England, I will actually be talking a lot about the specifics of these 4 pillars. شروع میں in the first 3-4 sessions, we will be developing the thought. In the last sessions, we will be specifying the structures of the pillars. اور اس میں کام دینے کے بعد سب کو کام جب سمجھ آ جائے گا کہ کیا کام ضروری ہے, بنتا ہے ہمارا as individuals, as a group of all Muslims, especially focusing on English Muslims, then we'll leave the country and then we'll go to the next country. So کوئی بھی معاملہ کسی بھی لیول کے اوپر ادھورا چھوڑ کے نہیں میں جا رہا, مگر in the big picture کسی ایک ملک کے اندر, for example English Muslims should know what's going on in the awakening tour. اس کی ان سیشن میں میں آسٹریلین مسلمس کو کیا ٹاسک دے کے آیا ہوں, کیا تھاٹ بلڈ ہو گئی ہے ادھر, اور اس کے بعد انگلش مسلمس کا کیا کام ہے اس کو کنیکٹ کرنے میں. اس کے بعد go to Scandinavia inshallah, that's our next tour, next plan inshallah. Then we'll go to the North American continent, جس میں امریکہ, اور اس کے فوراً بعد we'll go to Canada and we'll then launch tangible programs. یہ پورا آرکیسٹرا ہمارا in the source code کہتے ہیں اس کو, source code of awakening tour کیا ہے. ساتھ ساتھ نان پاکستانی انڈین اور بنگالیز کو, پیپل جو کہ اردو نہیں سمجھتے, عربس, ٹرکس, افریقن مسلمس, ان سب کو ساتھ ساتھ کنیکٹ کرنے کے لیے ایک مومنٹم بنانا ضروری ہے. اس کے لیے مجھے ہر لوکل, فار ایگزامپل انگلینڈ کے اندر ابھی ہماری ملٹیپل پوڈ کاسٹ ہیں, ملٹیپل سیشنز ہیں میرے ود لوکل پیپل اینڈ پیپل ہو گلوبلی پریزنٹ, تاکہ ان سب کو وی کین ریل them in. یہ میں ویسے پہلے سوال کے جواب میں آپ کو کنیکٹ کر رہا ہوں, دونوں سوالوں کو. جو فائنینشیل پلر ہے اس کو آسانی سے سمجھ لیں. رزق کا کانسیپٹ, ہم مسلمان ہیں, ہمیں پتہ ہے کہ اللہ تعالیٰ نے رزق کا کیا معاملہ ہم سب کو بتا دیا ہوا ہے assertively. مگر یاد رکھیے گا, رزق کو مقصد بنانا اور اس کی تقدو کرنا, اس کے لیے ترکیبیں کرنا, اس کے لیے ہنر, علم, مہارت کر لے کے آنا, یا پھر اللہ کے دین کو پرپس بنانا اور اس کے لیے ریسورسز اکٹھی کرنا, یہ 2 الگ معاملات ہیں. اللہ تعالیٰ نے جہاں پہ کہا ہے کہ رزق میرے ہی تھرو آتا ہے, صرف اللہ ہی ہے جو رزق کا ضامن ہے, اللہ ہی کے کام ہے کہ رزق دیں, کس کو دیں, اس کو نہ دیں, اللہ کا کام ہے. साथ ही अल्लाह ताला ने कुरान पाक में कहा वअइद्दु लहुम मस्तताअतुम मिन कुव्वा, कि कुव्वत मस्टर अप अगेंस्ट देम ऑल यू कैन। इसको मैं फाइनेंशियल पावर कहता हूँ, इसको पॉलिटिकल पावर कहता हूँ मैं। ये दोनों चीजें इकट्ठी होती हैं। इफ देयर इज नो मनी देयर इज नो पॉलिटिक्स, याद रखिएगा। देयर इज नो पावर देयर इज नो से। ये पिरामिड बहुत आसान है, ये मैंने इंग्लैंड में बड़ी तफसील से इन द फर्स्ट वीक ऑफ फरवरी हम पिलर्स की स्पेसिफिकेशंस तक चले जाएंगे। इंग्लैंड के शुरू के टूर में, शुरू के 3-4-5 सेशंस में आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू बी गोइंग इनटू स्पेसिफिक्स। उसमें मैं थॉट बिल्डिंग के ऊपर ज्यादा फोकस कर रहा हूँ। लैंडस्केपिंग कर रहे हैं, इसको लैंडस्केपिंग बोलते हैं। शुरू में जैसे कल मेरा क्रॉली में सेशन है, मैंने सिर्फ लैंडस्केपिंग करनी है। उसकी वीडियो इसीलिए, जब भी हमारे कोई टूर ऑर्गेनाइज करते हैं हम सबसे पहले कुछ नहीं पूछते कि कौन कर रहा है, कहाँ पे कर रहा है, कितने बंदे आएंगे, ये सब बात की बातें। सबसे पहले हम उनसे, आप ऑर्गेनाइजर से पूछें तो हम एक कंडीशन देते हैं कि इसकी वीडियोग्राफी आपने बहुत हाई क्वालिटी में रखनी है, ताकि किसी भी एक किस्त को, इस पूरे के पूरे प्ले की कोई एक भी किस्त मिस नहीं होनी चाहिए। बिकॉज वी नो कि ये इतना बड़ा मामला है, हम इतने मल्टी ऑर्गन फेलियर में हैं कि 4 घंटे में उम्मत को नहीं बताया जा सकता कि क्या मसाइल हैं और उनका हल क्या। और अगर बता भी दें तो इतना जनरल और एब्स्ट्रैक्ट हो जाएगा कि किसी को समझ नहीं आएगी। सो व्हाट वी डू इज वी मेक श्योर कि जितनी ज्यादा डिटेलिंग की जा सकती है उतनी की जाए। इसलिए हर एपिसोड बहुत जरूरी है। ये मामला मुझे भी पता है कि जिस एपिसोड में वीडियो नहीं होगी, फॉर एग्जांपल हर जगह नहीं हो, अगर फॉर एग्जांपल सिडनी की वीडियो जो थी, दैट बैकफायर्ड। दोज पीपल डिड नॉट रियली अंडरस्टैंड द सेंसिटिविटी कि कितना जरूरी मामला था। एंड दैट वाज अ ग्रैंड सेशन बाय द वे। हमारे 2 तरह के सेशन होते हैं, एक फ्लैगशिप सेशन होते हैं और एक रेगुलर मीटअप्स होते हैं। जो फ्लैगशिप सेशंस हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल इंग्लैंड में इस वक्त 4 फ्लैगशिप सेशन हैं पूरे टूर में। उनके ऊपर अगर इस तरह की कोई क्वालिटी का कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो जाए तो इट्स अ बिग फेलियर। सो मैं उसी वक्त कंटेंट को डिम डाउन कर देता हूँ, आई टोन इट डाउन, क्योंकि मुझे पता होता है कि इसका वो इसको मैं लोकलाइज कर दूं, उस जो ऑडियंस आई हुई है बस उनके क्वेश्चन आंसर के ऊपर फोकस करूं, और वो जो सीख सकते हैं सिखाएं, बेशक 6 घंटे लग जाए, 1 घंटा लगे, 10 घंटे लगे, बिकॉज दिस इज नॉट गोइंग ग्लोबल एनीवे। सो इतना जरूरी है कि हर किस्त रिकॉर्ड की जाए, हाई क्वालिटी में रिकॉर्ड की जाए, स्पेशली उसकी ऑडियो हो, ताकि ये पूरा का पूरा जो मैकेनिज्म है ये समझाने में, जैसे एक किताब लिखी जा रही है ना, एक बहुत जामे किस्म की 500-700 सफ़ों की किताब हो जो कि दुनिया को चेंज करती हो। बेसिकली पहले मामला ऐसे ही होता था। आप किताबें पढ़ते नहीं है मुसलमान, ये बहुत बड़ा मसला हो गया हमारे साथ। हम किताबें हमने छोड़ दी, हमारे बच्चों ने तो बिल्कुल ही छोड़ दी हैं, और सब के सब इस वक्त यूट्यूब के ऊपर आ गए। सो वी नो दैट द फाइनेस्ट सब्स्टिट्यूट फॉर दोज बुक्स आर अ कलेक्शन ऑफ कंप्लीट सीरीज ऑफ वीडियोस, जिसमें we can actually cover all the details like any book. It'll be a big fat book, I know. And once our kids go through those videos, which they are going through videos, which we know, we are monitoring the views, we are monitoring the age, the demographic. बहुत keenly observe कर रहा हूँ मैं statistics को, बहुत sensitively देखा जा रहा है कि किस एज ग्रुप के और किस जेंडर के, किस एरिया का बच्चा, लड़का लड़की इस वक्त इन वीडियोस पे लैच ऑन कर रहा है. So when we know that, this is the audience, this is the kind of influence, and this is the demographic we are influencing, we pick content like crazy. Every single day, most important meetings that I have with my team are content meetings. We do nothing but content brainstorming. We do brainstorming as well as murder boarding. Murder boarding का concept है, किसी और दिन समझाऊंगा. We shoot down ideas, we build new ideas. I call about 30-40 people a week, which are think tanks of major change in the planetary affairs. चाहे वो economics के हों, चाहे वो science के हों, चाहे वो theology के हों. I call them like crazy, and now they know a lot of those people. जैसी मेरी कॉल आती है उनको पता होता है मेरा कोई सेशन है, उसका कंटेंट डिस्कस करना है मैंने. एंड मोस्ट ऑफ देम डोंट इवन नो ईच अदर बिकॉज दे आर नॉट कनेक्टेड. वो मैं सेंट्रल लिंक हूं उनका, चाहे वो कैलिफोर्निया में हैं, अर्वाइन में हैं, चाहे वो लाहौर में हैं, सिस्टम्स लिमिटेड में बैठे हैं, चाहे वो امریکہ میں ہیں, کینیڈا میں ہیں, ہمبر میڈیکل میں ہیں, چاہے وہ جانز ہاپکنز میں ہیں, ایوری باڈی نوز کہ میری کال آتی ہے تو کانٹینٹ کے لیے آتی ہے. کیوں؟ کیونکہ وہ کتاب لکھی جا رہی ہے, مگر کتاب چونکہ پڑھتے نہیں ہیں تو وہ پوری ڈاکیومنٹری بن رہی ہے. دس از دا بیک ڈراپ آف دا اویکننگ ٹور. نو اس وجہ سے میں کیوں آپ کو یہ بات بتا رہا ہوں تفصیل سے, تاکہ آپ کو پتا ہو کوئی ایک بھی قسط جو ہے نا, وہ ایک چیپٹر ہے کتاب کا, وہ مس ہوگا تو کافی کچھ مس ہو جائے گا. اس لیے میں پہلی وہ خاتون سے بھی کہہ رہا تھا کہ میری کوئی ویڈیو آپ ریپیٹ میں تو نہیں دیکھ رہی, میں کہیں پہ ریپیٹ کر ہی نہیں سکتا ہوں بیکاز وہ اگلا چیپٹر ہوتا ہے. کافی چیزیں سیم ہوں گی بیکاز کتاب کا ٹائٹل تو وہی ہے, مگر کتاب کے ٹائٹل کے تھیم کو مد نظر رکھتے ہوئے ایک بیک بون کے اوپر فلیش, بون, بلڈ, وینز, کیپیلریز, لمف نوڈ ساتھ ساتھ کریٹ کی جا رہی, تاکہ جس ڈیموگرافک کو ہم ہٹ کرنا چاہ رہے ہیں, which is 15 year old to the 45 year old, that is the change zone, جنہوں نے اگلی 100 سالوں کے اندر بگر چینج لے کے آنی. اس لیے کچھ سیشن ایسے ہوں گے جس میں آپ کچھ کانٹینٹ 1-2 گھنٹے کا ریپیٹ پہ دیکھیں گے, باقی سارا کچھ چینج ہوا کرے گا, بیکاز اس کو میں ری کیپ کر رہا ہوتا ہوں. اٹ از ویری ویل تھاٹ, بڑا کام ہوا ہوتا ہے اس کے اوپر. مجھے بہت کانشیسلی پتا ہے کہ کوئی بھی چیز ریپیٹ کروں گا تو اس کا ڈراپ ریٹ بڑھ جائے گا. سو جب میں ریپیٹ بھی کرتا ہوں کسی کانسیپٹ کو تو اس کے اینگلس اور اس کی انالوجیز بدل دیتا ہوتا ہوں. آئی ڈونٹ ریپیٹ دا سیم ایگزامپلس یو مائٹ ہیو سین اے فیو ٹائمز آؤٹ آف 1000 جہاں پہ میں کوئی ایگزامپل بھی ریپیٹ کر رہا ہوں. آئی کیپ چینجنگ سو دیٹ کتاب پڑھنے والا, اس پوری ڈاکیومنٹری کو دیکھنے والا کہیں پہ یہ نہ سوچ لے کہ اچھا یہ چیپٹر جو ہے نا یہ میں مس کرنے کے کو افورڈ کر سکتا ہوں. سو اٹ از گوئنگ ٹو بی 100 hour, maybe 200 hour awakening tour, maybe even more, wallahu alam, maybe less, but it will cover all those specifics جو کہ کسی بھی ماہر نفسیات سے لے کے ماہر معاشیات سے لے کے ماہر فلکیات سے لے کے لٹرلی ماہر طب سے لے کے ایوری باڈی ہیز ٹو کم ان ٹوگیدر. ہر بندہ اپنے فلیور سے انٹر ہو اور اس کو اللہ کے دین کے اوپر, قرآن کے اوپر, اور سب سے بڑی بات سیرہ کے تھرو قرآن کے اوپر مرکوز کر دیا جائے. This is that, it is that simple in theory, but in practicality a lot of things come together. You have no idea. 24/7 لاہور میں اور اسلام آباد میں میری ٹیم 24/7 آن کال رہتی ہے. اینڈ آرگنائزرز ان UK, پوچھ لیں آپ, ان سے بات کریں. ہم نے ان کو اور انہوں نے ہمیں سونے نہیں دیا پچھلے پورے مہینے سے. میری انٹری آف انگلینڈ سے پہلے ایڈمنسٹریٹو افیئرز, وینیو بکنگ, ابھی میری شبنم فاطمہ سے بات ہو رہی تھی. شی واز گوئنگ آن, فرسٹ ٹائم شی ڈڈ دس, شی واز گوئنگ آن اے ریڈیو پروگرام. The way everyone, Sana, Dr. Sana, I know, کون سے اسکالرز اب مجھے کال کر رہے ہیں because she went through that effort of getting local people and شیوخ involved. میں کیا سب کے کیا نام بتاؤں آپ کو, ایک ہیرا اللہ تعالیٰ نے چن کے مینچسٹر سے, برمنگھم سے, برسٹل سے. These are the people who come in and become their army, and they know کہ bigger intent کیا ہے, they know bigger mission کیا ہے. They do not know the specifics and they're waiting for the specifics. That's what you're asking as well. Make sure you understand. ویڈیوز کو دیکھنے والے لاکھوں کروڑوں ہوں گے انشاءاللہ, مگر جو یہ ویڈیوز بنانے والے ہیں نا, یہ کانٹینٹ بنانے والے, یہ جو ابھی آرگنائزرز ہیں آپ کے UK کے, یا سائمہ ہے, شاہ رخ ہیں, محسن علی خان ہیں, طیب ہیں آسٹریلیا میں, علیم ہیں کیمبرا میں, انم ہیں پرتھ میں. I cannot even tell you of how these people, they are a part of my system, and that system is calling the azan. الحمدللہ اذان کی آوازیں آتی ہیں, ان لوگوں کی فون آتے ہیں تو اس لیول کی یہ کال آتی ہے کہ فلاح کی طرف. even if I shut my eyes for one minute, they wake me up. جوڑتے ہیں. اور انشاءاللہ یہی اسکینڈینیویا سے بھی یہی آوازیں آ رہی ہیں, نوروے سب سے زیادہ, سویڈن سے, فن لینڈ سے. And of course, there are 27 confirmed locked sessions in the United States of America. 27 sessions جو کہ تقریباً سال سے زیادہ ہی ہو گئے. روز ہم ان کے ساتھ ڈسکشن, میں لٹرلی کوئی دن ناغا نہیں ہو رہا میرا, of how people are getting involved, and they're mostly Indian Pakistanis. Okay, ज़्यादातर पाकिस्तानी होंगे, इंडियन होंगे, because मेरा तो सारा का सारा just build up है वो उर्दू में, and this is why I keep enforcing कि overseas मुसलमानों से मुझे वो जो hope है ना, वो इन लोगों की वजह से आ रही, और ये है awakening tour के पीछे के pillars. These are the people who, मैं आपको कैसे बताऊं भी, महरीन है or whoever is
Sir,
hosting it.
sorry to interrupt. Can we switch to English? We are getting a lot of requests.
Sure, of course, English. So the way I have been treated from the day I landed, from wherever I'm staying, and the way these people are like, these girls are like acting literally like my daughters. They're treating me like a father. They're serving me, trying to protect every single ounce of this mission. The way they look at this whole project of the Awakening Tour is probably they believe in this way more than even I believe in this. My own team, gets energy from these people. So this is that pillar, that emotional pillar. जो कि मैं नहीं, I do not discuss that fifth pillar, which is the emotional pillar, because Muslims mostly are emotional. But these Pakistanis and these Indians have come together and made all of this possible. I haven't seen my family for so long. I haven't slept for so long. I sleep at odd hours, which, sometimes I'm on the phone and I'm sleeping. And, I don't even know what's going on with my personal life. I have forgotten most of, what my personal and my, my professional objectives are, in terms of, whatever I had been doing before the Awakening Tour. Ever since I landed in Melbourne on the 7th or 9th of October, last year, I have done nothing but, work with these sort of people for the Awakening Tour. So I am going to go through a lot of details. Tomorrow is Crawley. It's called the landscaping session. Even Crawley organizer doesn't know. This is my lingo, my company's lingo, my team's lingo, कि हम landscaping करेंगे, thought के funnels बताएंगे इस वक्त, what's going on in the planet right now, what kind of thought processes through the individual brain of any human being who's living and is exposed to any sort of media, and how to place yourself in or outside anybody else's thought which is not complete, or inside some thought by conscious design. We are going to discuss in 2-3 hours there. When a session is for 4 hours, that means about 90 odd minutes are going to be engagement section, which is question and answer sessions of people who have come in with, prior to the session. They have so many questions to ask. So this is what the orchestra of the an individual program is. A 4-hour session is not a 4-hour lecture. It's mostly an engagement program. And I know that I have to condense so many things. People are there. I need to talk to them. They need to talk to me. So I respect that. They expect me to engage with them. So we allocate about 90 minutes to a little more. Today I just got a call from Mujib Saab, who's hosting the Crawley session, and he said we need 2 extra hours, and I've booked you till 3:30 till 9, so I'm going to be speaking for 7 hours straight, and I got so happy that if people are going to stay there, and people are coming from far off places, Arabs are coming, Bengalis are coming, Pakistanis and Indians are coming, and they're coming from because he just went through the profile. People are coming from literally hundreds of kilometers away. So you can't just give them a lecture and just send them home. We have to talk to them. They have serious questions. This is not an entertainment session, so we never take it lightly. We are very conscious of every single second. We do not waste any single second of the program. Prior or after the program also counts. Everything is recorded. Everything is documented. This is as serious of anything that I've ever encountered. Actually, most of my life, after looking at the way these people have come together, I practically don't even weigh most of my life as this serious as, you know, these last few months of the Awakening Tour. So I hope you guys understand how sensitive all of this is, and how much I cherish every one of you, every single one of you. So I'm just giving you a little backdrop so that you can understand. And now you can understand why I'm so peculiarly interested in England and the English Muslim, because you guys are well established, you guys are very confident, you guys have withered off the inferiority complexes of the last two generations, because you're born and raised, you're as English as you know, as Prince Harry. You do not have any kind of dissonance regarding you know, those two cultures where they meet. There you are a lot less influenced by the Pakistani Indian demographics, you know, shortcomings. So I expect you guys to perform way better. I expect you guys to have way more serious questions, and not just that, but the follow through. I did not have that kind of expectations from Australians, not to blame them, but the fact that they just reached Australia, they're still in Pakistan. So when it comes down to comparisons between, you know, Scandinavia, America, Australia, or most of, you know, Africa, where, you know, these sort of immigrations happen, England is the center stage, and if this goes well, I think 60% of the job is done, even if not 90%. So I am really relying on you guys to bring your kids. I'm relying on you guys to talk to your kids. I'm relying on you guys to engage with your kids after the session inside your homes. I'm relying on you guys to recreate this session inside your living rooms over your dinner tables. I'm relying on your kids to recreate these sort of sessions and this thought in their schools and universities. So it's a snowball we're trying to actually create here, and we are not just going to let this go. This Abhise right now, my hosts are talking about the re-entry into England, because one tour is not going to be enough, and these are the kind of words that actually put a lot more hope in my system. Okay, just give me a second. Let me just put my machine on charge. Question, please. You can take my next question. I hope everyone's clear as to how we look at it. Everyone's clear as to what our objectives are. And most of all, everyone's clear as to what our expectations are.
Jazakallah khair, sir. And for the beautiful words that you said earlier. It's Sana here. And I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. One is that how important this session is for our youth in the UK, for English-speaking youth from all walks of life, whether they're Arab or teenagers, and how important it is for the parents to bring them to this session and have this interactive side. The second question is that you have an excellent platform called Islamic Messaging System, IMS. How people in the UK, when they come and they get to know you and they get to know your platform and the 100-year plans for the Muslim Ummah, how those teenagers are going to get benefit out of this, because common people don't know that about your work, the amount of great work that you have done, and how you've brought more than 10,000 people already on that platform.
Well, let me just call a spade a spade. It's not an excellent platform yet. Okay, if anything, it's way less than poor. But the intent is there of everybody. That's an excellent intent of everyone who's there. But the quality, I personally can't. Nobody of any sane mind would be satisfied with the quality of content flowing through the IMS right now. But that's how it is. That's how it begins. That's how any excellent platform would begin. We had an amazing, alhamdulillah, summa alhamdulillah, we had an amazing start for the IMS. And we are going to talk about IMS. I am going to talk about, there's a section, and every single session, that's a section I'm going to repeat in every video for IMS, so that the quality would become excellent. And that's where your kids are going to come in. And unless you talk about real things, and unless you talk about real things with enough eloquence, bringing your English flavor there, your worldview, which the rest of the world needs, especially Pakistani youth needs. See, I actually believe that unless the Pakistani local boy and girl, their value enhances, the overseas Pakistani girl and boys' value is not going to increase, because by the end of the day, we are Pakistanis and Indians and Desis, okay? And unless we are about close to 1 billion Muslims in Pakistan, India, and Bengal. Okay, we're close to 1 billion Muslims. We're close to a little more than 50% of all Muslims in the world. And even if I get 1% efficiency and movement in this 1 billion Muslim, and that's going to come through our kids, inshallah. All of the Muslims around the world, all the human beings around the world, inshallah, are going to reap the real fruit. And we need philosophers, we need thought builders, we need thinkers, we need scientists, we need the most effective, most credible people of their own fields. And that's what IMS is all about. We are going to enhance the faculties from intellectual warfare soldiers to psychological warfare soldiers, and then more faculties to be introduced. That's going to come later. But unless we establish the base in the first 3-4 years, bringing everybody who can actually bring value, especially our kids, and unless they are teenagers in the IMS system, it's not going to continue. I'm very clear. It's common sense. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that unless there's real youth, exuberant youth with raw talent, unpolished raw talent is the most attractive thing in the universe, as far as my thought has gone through searching the real realms. So we need those boys and girls to start writing and start thinking and start expressing. And that's the objective of IMS. So for that to happen, they need to be in these sort of sessions. They need to see the charisma of the thought that flows through the questions of the audience, which renders the speaker, speechless, in awe of the flavor through which these minds are coming together and creating that potion, that those ingredients that they bring from their own domestic or professional or personal lives, and they create that perfect recipe. That's the charisma I want for our daughters and sons to enjoy in these sort of meetings and gatherings. This is something which is the bigger objective. IMS is the follow-through. This is one of the benefits of the Awakening Tour, so that we can connect 2 billion Muslims together. That's a one-line vision of IMS, to connect every Muslim together, not just for the Muslim Ummah, but for the next 100 years of all human beings. And unless we're thinking about the 7 billion human beings, we're not even, entering the outer boundary, the outer rim of Islam. Islam is not about just Muslims. Islam is about every human being to come to Allah Azza wa Jal's, conceptualization and internalize the concept of the whole bigger system that Allah Azza wa Jal, bestowed upon all sons and daughters of Adam, not just the Muslim sons. Our job is to convey to the non-believers, so that we can bring them in to our credibility and our the charisma of our character. So that's the job. I mean, that's the only real job. So that, when we meet our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the day of judgment on the banks of Kawthar, we should have, numbers backing up our actions, and our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would be smiling at us, because he said that, make me proud on the number of people that are going to be in the Ummah. I need you all to do that. This is what our job is. That's the hadith that we wrote on the forefront of our IMS website. And that is the job. And unless we convey it further, and we eloquently convey it further with credible homework, backing our words up, substantiating every claim that we have, we are not going to make it. We are not going to be able to convey it, and we're not going to create that sort of a change. And we need to make that bigger change. And that's real politics. Philosophy is the most powerful instrument of politics. We need to create thinkers, and we need to establish a very well thought out plan to bring everybody to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's thought process, his sallallahu alaihi wasallam's psychology, his sallallahu alaihi wasallam's strategy, and most of all, his sallallahu alaihi wasallam's pride. And that pride is the flock of all lions and lionesses coming together and making everybody understand why Islam was the finest possible word that was ever spoken 1400 years ago, and now nobody even wants to listen to it because of the lack of character that the Muslims are showing all over the place. Yeah, I'm done with the answer. Please take the next question.
Yeah, Umar, can you please unmute?
No, I can't
No, we
hear.
can't hear you.
Alaikum assalam.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Alaikum
Assalamu
assalam.
alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum.
Can you hear me? Sorry, there's a confusion, that's why. Okay,
No,
so
it's
my question is, I am going to be in one of your last lectures in Glasgow. I read the topic, it was quite interesting. My question to you is that has someone helped you to understand the different demographic areas of England and Scotland? First of all, we are not English Muslims, we are Scottish Muslims. Big difference. Second of all, the question I have for you is that how are we going to concentrate on helping our communities in different areas with different problems? So not only we have an Islamic problems in here, we have cultural identity crisis. Are you going to cover that? That's my first prolonged question. Second, my prolonged question is that the way we have our parents' generation have adopted. I was born in Pakistan, so my case is very different. But the kids who were born here, they were more culturally entwined rather than religiously entwined. And for them, culture have become religion. So have you got any policy about segregating them about these things? Because this is one of the things where I feel, because I lived in different part of UK, including England, and I have noticed that the third generation is way more cultural than religious. And they have no understanding of deen because they have been force-fed about madhab only about Quran and namaz and roda and zakat. Except that they have no understanding of any deen. So like your core concept is Iqamatud Deen. So that's my question is how are you going to fundamentally build it up to Glasgow? Thank you.
Well, Glasgow is not my last session. I think it's on the 21st, if I'm not mistaken. It is actually smack down in the middle of the tour. My tour goes up to 17th, inshallah, of February. If not the 12th, I just got news that I might have to extend my tour for a collaboration with 2-3 different organizations on the 15th or 16th. So 21st, I think I'm coming to Glasgow, and I apologize for not calling out Scotland as a separate country, and I'm just calling it the English tour. But that's another cultural matter, right? As a Muslim, there is no Scotland or England or Pakistan or India. It is just a bigger planet through which our father, Adam alayhi salam, that's the bigger country that we're going to establish, inshallah, as an Islamic country through the intellectual and psychological uplift of our kids. To answer your question, yes, there is the landscape. We have covered it thoroughly. Actually, that is what I'm going to start at Crawley. tomorrow, inshallah. The 4 funnels of thought. And those 4 funnels of thought are not the 4 pillars of upheaval. No, 4 funnels of thought are, one of them is, the influence of culture. So don't worry, we are going to cover that. I might not cover that in detail in Glasgow, because I would have covered it in Crawley or in London. But there is a chance I'm going to recap a lot of it inside in Glasgow. Glasgow is not a flagship session, so it's going to be a shorter session. For Manchester, we're going to cover a lot more, whatever we did in Crawley and or any prior sessions, including Glasgow. So you're going to catch that video. You'll have to just to get a lot more, because I think my first flagship session is okay. No, that's on the 19th in London. That is a flagship session on the 19th. So you will get to see a lot more content about how to, because even if you're Scottish, not English, the problem of culture is going to be the same. And you'll be amazed as to how big of a problem local Pakistanis have. The same problem, that we are influenced way more by the local culture than Islam. And if anything, bigger force is being exerted against Muslims for the culture, against Islamic thought process, calling it an Arabian cultural thought rather than an Islamic thought. So we understand that. Don't worry, I'm going to cover that. That's a bigger influence on the human mind right now of all of us, not just Muslims, but Christians and Jews and whoever is trying to go towards the truth. Culture is an instrument. If it's not used properly, it is going to create a taghut, an independent policy-making platform. And we're going to make sure our kids know that, the difference, so that their policies come from Allah Azza wa Jal, and their cultural flavors become part of their casual routines at best, nothing more. Okay, it shouldn't influence any sort of base platform in their thought building. We are going to cover that, inshallah. Next question, please. Glasgow is on the 21st. Please make sure you write that down. We are going to Scotland for Glasgow on the 21st. If Hassan, can you confirm, please?
Yes, yes, it's
okay,
21st.
21st of January, 2024 is Glasgow's session. Please go through our Facebook or Instagram or wherever you can see the poster, or for the exact venue. I do not know the venue. Okay, but Glasgow is an important session. That might be the only session we're having in Scotland, or however you pronounce Scotland, or, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right. Yes. Tomorrow's session is Crawley, which is the 14th. Then I'm going to 19th for the East London session. Between that, there's a closed session in the London School of Economics. I'm assuming that's not an open session, so I'm not announcing it. That is for the students. If it is an open session, look it up. You can there are universities which do allow anybody to come in as a walk-in participant. I'm not sure if LSE allows that. Okay, so for tomorrow and the 19th, that's an open session, and in Crawley tomorrow, and in London, East London, on the 19th. Yes, sir.
Faisal Ali, could unmute.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sheikh, Jazakallah khairan. May Allah bless you. May Allah bless all the efforts you're making in this path. Jazakallah khair, and welcome to United Kingdom. My questions to you, brother, is that we are planning the poster for the Bradford session, and we need some clarity from your side so we can bring the right audience. So if you can help us to give us, some bullet points that what you're going to be talking about in the Bradford session, so we can design the target poster. Jazakallah khair.
Well, you can go through this video to get a lot more detailed insight about the content. But if you need any special, see, this is how it works. Let me tell you, we actually asked you guys to tell us what to put inside the Bradford session or the Crawley session or the Sydney session or the New York session or the, Houston. We're going to ask you guys, because that's where you come in. We can't impose, we have an awakening tour thematics lined up, and we know where to take them. But where to take them from is something where you guys come in. So you have to that's why before the English tour, about 60 days ago, and then 45 days ago, I was part of that meeting. And then 30 days ago, we are keep on pumping that form so that you can fill it out and tell us what to specifically target, what kind of points to cover for your kids, daughters, sons, yourselves, parents, people who are making that sort of a decision in your family, for those, and the community. Rather, we telling you, you should tell us. That's how it's going to work properly. So just tell us, think about it, and that's partly part of a good exercise, that you're going to actually become a real effective part of the Awakening Tour, because you're going to drive the tour, rather than we tell you what to do in Bradford, and your kids be like, what do you know about what's going on here? Why don't you just talk about the problems that we have? And you're telling us problems that Sydney has, or New York has, or Islamabad has, and I don't want that to happen. So I am not going to generalize any session. If I am generalizing the session, that means I didn't get that local, intellect connected to the big machine. So please connect with us. Tell us what you want to talk, what you want us to incorporate in our program, and we're going to develop the causation matrix. That's what we call it, the cause and effect, and the psychology. How does individual and group psychology come into play to have that sort of problem as a symptom inside the community? And we're going to cover the solution and connect it with the bigger mission of the Awakening Tour. Okay, so even if you have 1 point, 2 point, 3 points, or even 100-point agenda, let us know. We're gonna sort it out. Don't worry. Okay.
Okay. Humaira, UK.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Alhamdulillah. I only wanted to ask simple question. How do we explain the agenda of your sessions to our kids or people, so they can connect with, they want to come to the sessions?
I just answered this this is the exact. Okay, let me just reiterate. Think about the kind of problems that you are facing on daily life with your kids in your community. Think about it consciously. It's a good exercise. And let us know what you want to talk about in terms of, I'm assuming you're a parent. So as parents, because parenting is particularly 60% of most of my episodes of the Awakening Parent, we have a very strong parenting focus, because I actually believe, it's not just an opinion, that Ammi and Abu have ruined it all for us, right? So we're talking to the Ammis and Abus. We're practically planning just for a good Ammi and a right Ammi and the right Abu, okay? Because kids do not have that sort of play in their decision making. So tell us, please, I beg of you, let me know what should be the topic, rather than me telling you the topic. Go through the last videos of the Awakening Tour, see the general theme. See the general theme. And we are going to be talking about, bigger political issues, the philosophical issues, the intellectual issues, the barriers of how, a lot of things have come in as pollutants inside the Muslim mind. And I'm not going to be using these words. This is not the right way to talk to kids. I'm talking to you guys.
Yeah, that's why I wanted the words that I can link my children's psychology, so they are intrigued to know what you're going to be talking about. In my understanding, I know it's amazing. Whatever I gain from you, I soak it in so effectively. For what words I can use for my children, I'm really, really excited to come down. But I want my children to see where I can see the things what I missed on when I was young, when I was growing up, when I was bringing up my children, I missed a lot. And there is guilt. There is also a hope. There is
Yeah. Guilt is
also,
hope. Make sure you
yes,
understand, guilt
absolutely.
is the finest quality of hope. If there's no
Yes.
guilt, then we are not human beings anymore, let alone Muslims, you know. So guilt is a good emotion. Guilt is an emotion Allah Azza wa Jalla loves. Okay. That's the first step towards change. And that's something which I, as a father, should be feeling so that I can, you know, consciously make the change in my kids. And you, I'm sure, are doing, and you use the word soaked so well. We have to soak our kids in the Quran, with the Quran, to the Quran. Okay, they should be reeking with the Quran and the intellect of the great Sahabas and the revival of the era of thought of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We should, you know, reincarnate that philosophy and that angle of looking at life and you know, solution to all the problems should logically and you know, what's the word? They should be excited towards looking at the kind of logic that Islam has towards all the problems that we as human beings are facing. So if I were talking to my son and I were to advertise this session or convince my son or daughter to go to this session, I would not tell them what's going to happen in that session. I would tell them that the kind of questions you're going to be asked as an English Muslim by non-Muslims, an English boy or a girl by your community, your friends, you should get the best answers so that you can actually recreate your own flavors for those best answers in your community. You are going through some problems and you're not going to discuss it with me because that's the kind of barriers parents have with our kids, because you're growing up, you're a teenager now. So instead of you pondering in your own bedroom, looking at the sky or looking at some YouTube video, you might as well just go and ask, be in direct engagement with these kind of people so that you can get a version, if not the best version, of an answer which will work for you. Okay, you are going through some sort of a confusion as an English Muslim because of the speed of things going around you, and you should know how to place yourself in your friends, in your community, to become the leader of that community. Okay, you should lead them rather than follow their course. You should set the course rather than doing anything else. You should set expectations rather than meet your friend's expectation. This is the Muslim way. And I would have told my daughter and son to actually go so that you can have these sessions or better in your version with the rest of the world. I need you to hold this torch because this man is not going to be here. He's going to die. He's just a man. And you're young and you have that you know, time in you know, with you, and we need you rather than you needing us now. You should take the lead now. Okay, I would have given them a bigger responsibility rather than to, you know, place this as one of the many things or a luxury. This is not a luxury. This is a responsibility. So I would have been a lot more assertive to my kids in telling them that I need this session in this very venue with, you know, bigger amount of people when you are on the stage in less than a year. I would have told every teenager, boy or girl, to make sure that this is recreated by you. That's what my job is. And I'm going to associate or facilitate this. And I'm going to help you in generating these sort of sessions or seminars or programs or movement. And unless you're leading a movement, I'm not even going to think that I raised a Muslim. You know, that these are the kind of words I'll be telling my kids. Actually, I am telling my kids these words, literally. I just spoke to my daughter a few days ago, and I told her that if you're not running source code, I'm going to shut it down because you need to create your own version of, how you're going to carry the torch, because this shouldn't stop. This cannot stop. Okay, if it stops at our generation and our kids go here and there, that's not their fault. That's our fault. Our fault. This is the job. Okay, we are the Khalifa to our kids. Our kids are going to be the Khalifa to their own kids. This is the Quran I'm reciting in front of you. So if we can't control our own dependence, how are we making them independent of us? Yes, please. Next question. क्या कहते हैं आप?
Sayyid Murtaza. Please unmute.
मुझे आवाज नहीं आ रही.
Faro,
Oh, अच्छा.
can you please unmute?
Hello, Mr. Sahil. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I am a DevOps engineer and currently working in an American company. I have a very simple question. Like, we are totally deploying and relying on the YouTube scholars, but we are not going through in-depth knowledge. So could you please put a light how we will get to this?
I didn't get the last part. Could I put a light on? Is he there? Are you there, sir? Well, let me just paraphrase whatever you asked. People who are actually using social media to convey knowledge.
I am audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Mr. Sahil, basically we are relying on the YouTube scholars. Like, we are getting the knowledge, but although we are not going in depth, right? We are not reading the books, not going through the Sira. So maybe due to the busyness, due to the professional lifestyle. So could you please put some information or some light, like how we will, like how should we learn, how we should start this?
Well, you don't really have a. Well, we start with getting our microphones fixed. That's the first thing. Secondly, see, Awakening Tour is not about social media. Awakening Tour is about going to real places, talking to people physically, getting people together, making the movement happen. It's not going to happen just on social media. I do not know why you're calling those people who are only on YouTube, YouTube scholars. They're influencers. And some scholars are on the YouTube. Some scholars are really good and they are using YouTube now. And I wish there were more of them, because our kids are not reading books. And if our kids are not reading books, and they are on their cell phones, and we are the ones who are buying them in smartphones, so that we can actually, facilitate some sort, I'm sure, and I'm hoping that is the intent of us getting our kids cell phones, so that they can actually, get abreast of what's going on in the planet in terms of real things, rather than just entertaining themselves. But since they are on cell phones, they're not going to be on in the libraries reading books. They're not going to be traveling, going to meet scholars themselves, because they have a cell phone now. That's humanly not possible to do both of the things with the same energy. If you have those scholars in your cell phone, you're not going to go to those scholars in their own cells, wherever they live. So it's that simple. But since now we're not going to, refute the most undeniable fact that every child will have a cell phone, and that cell phone will be connected to whatever kind of scholarship or just an influencer. See, the equation is simple. The landscape is right there in front of us. So for us to make our kids and ourselves go in depth, we need to make sure these physical sessions and meetups, these movements and these seminars are held by our kids. And for them to have these sort of little, I call them clusters, that cluster for my kid to create, he needs to have a credible knowledge set backing him. Otherwise, he's not going to be able to create a single cluster of a single person. So for them to have that sort of emotion, they will inevitably have to read. And once they start reading, they are going to uh, naturally be going in depth of whatever they're going to present. Unless you tell them that teaching is the real job, they're not going to do the job of learning. Ali ibn Abi Talib says to teach is to learn. It's the finest way to learning is teaching. So make your kids teach the concepts, and they will have to inevitably refer real literature, books, and journals, which actually make them go in depth. They will have to understand Sira in order to go to the Quran. Quran is the book of Sira. Unless you know Sira, you do not know, you cannot know the Quran. And if you know the Quran, you'll know that all of the Quran is describing what the Prophet ﷺ is going through. Literally, it's like literally all of the Quran is the story of our Prophet ﷺ. So we need to put our kids into motion now, okay, and put them into the perspective that this is the real job. And if this sort of platform works, they will not have to be worried. They won't be worried about their financial and economic problems, because when billions of people or millions of people, or even if hundreds of thousands of people come together, they will have enough network for them to have any sort of independence, especially financial independence, which naturally comes in. I'm not going to go into the detail of how they're going to be financially independent because of their network, because anyone who is a part of a bigger network is, all set for any of his entrepreneurial, aspirations or goals. It comes way easier for people with bigger networks to establish their financial platforms. So, but that's not the purpose, of course, because if it would be the purpose, he's going to be, fizzled out or alienated or, ousted by the network. That's the network of Muslims, because that's not what we're here for. But we know that this is the need. So I'm just giving you a side note here. What I'm trying to tell you is, unless your kids know that this is a responsibility, they're never going to go into. You're into some sort of technology. I'm assuming you use that word. Now you have to upgrade yourself reading books about technology, because that's the inevitable part of the job. For you to survive in the job, you need to read the books. Unless you upgrade your knowledge, you're not going to make it to the next year in that very job. That's the exact same phenomena for all Muslims, unless they're in the Muslim teaching, Muslim development job. If our kids are not in the job of developing other Muslims, they're not going to go into depth of Sira in the Quran. Okay, that's not humanly possible to just become a reader and then be busy in the rest of the planetary jobs of making money and getting married and getting all of those establishments done. So you have to change the way we place themselves in this planet, in this life. Okay, that's the only way. And I'm telling you, when Sahabas were in the job of teaching, everybody became a Muslim. We stopped this job of teaching Islam to everybody else. Okay, as soon as we went into other jobs, not the job of Adam al-Islam, we now are at the bottom of the barrel. This is how knowledge depletes. And as soon as the knowledge depletes, competence depletes. And that's why most Muslims in the world are incompetent. And most Muslims in the world are incompetent because, they changed the purpose and they, depleted every single ounce of knowledge. And now we have kids who really don't know much of what most of our kids don't even know the word Sira, let alone the whole detail of Sira. That's another symptom of what kind of parenting has been done in the last few generations, including me. Yes, sir. Next question. Last question, please. Last question.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, sir. My name is Murtaza. And sir, I couldn't agree with the map that you drew of the Awakening Tour. It's very good. My question is, yes, there is an Awakening Tour, but how do we keep our youth, especially someone like me, stay woke? Because a lot of the times the intensity of the people attending these sessions is there. They're dedicated. They want to work. But as soon as this session is over, as soon as they stop watching a YouTube video or stop reading a book, they go back to their normal lives. How do we keep them on the same level that they started off from? is there a framework, or should there be a framework in which, all these people who have this intensity to do something, actually stay over there, and they don't get swayed away from their purpose?
I think that's the best question I've heard all year. See, most of the people who are going to read any book are not going to follow through the book. Most of the people who ever read a book did not follow through that book. Okay, that's how human mind works. Understand the psychology of the man. Okay, if I'm going to watch a movie, I'm not going to mimic that movie for more than 30 minutes after that my movie's done, right? And no matter how much I like that movie. If I'm going to read a book, doesn't really mean that I'm going to actually imply all of whatever that book has to offer. But then something happens wherever, if you see whenever there is any change that human beings individually or as a group have taken up, they didn't take up, that change unpredictably or abnormally. No, they take it very normally. Something really happens, and it's very common between all human beings who've ever made any change that happened to them as individuals or as communities. So what's the answer? What's the formula? Well, how do people change? How do people set forth the motion through which bigger change happens in their dependence and the rest of the world? Well, the answer is simple. They need to have those sort of goals aspired by people who are teaching them those goals, and some tasks that are going to be tangible, specific, realistic, bound or binded here by those goals with a very good enough timeline so that they can achieve those goals, right? So I've made that cut in the demographic. I call it the TDP, the Teenage Development Program. We're going to be introducing that, inshallah, connecting all the teenagers from all the world, literally. And it actually was conceived in the Melbourne session. And it was conceived by the Melbourne team, actually, who were hosting this session. And they came together and they said, you're giving everybody tasks to perform, but no one's going to perform the tasks. And I said, yeah, I know. No one's going to do it. So I told the Melbournese, or whatever they call them there, and the Sydneyites and the Canberra people to come and connect so that we can keep following through those sessions. And lo and behold, nobody came. Well, 10% of the people came in the follow-up sessions where we were describing the training manual. And those are free sessions, okay? Those are free sessions, which I kept on inviting those Australians back. So now I'm going to, I gave you some tasks. Now I'm going to tell you how to do those tasks, which you, of course, is not rocket science, but you got to start performing, and no one's going to do that. It's okay, I get it. But unless we have a regimented, well thought out, strategically, psychologically correct strategy with, clearly defined, exciting goals, people are not going to do that. And as soon as I'm going to give a 30-year-old guy, or a woman, certain targets which are not part of his daily or domestic life or professional life, he's not going to be able to comply. So who is going to comply? That's the teenager, because he's not worried by those kind of responsibilities. He's not burdened by those routines which adults have naturally on their shoulders for them to make ends meet, to make money, and to live, literally, or survive in whatever countries we're actually talking to them. And that's why we focused right away in the most probable group or cut of the demographic who is going to perform and going to make that change through those videos or books or whatever they're going to go through. And they're going to take the next 5, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps. So what's the recipe? The recipe is those steps have to be exciting. They have to have a very receiving yield. They should be getting something out of it. They should be receiving something for their individual self. It has to be there. And it has to be bigger than, any kind of other entity they're going to receive locally from their father, mother, school, or wherever friends that they're in Sydney or Melbourne or Birmingham, so that they can get that aspiration going. And unless it's bigger, it's global, and it's nothing bigger than the word global here, right? So we put all of these mechanisms and these ingredients inside the recipe. It's called the Teenage Development Program. I'm not going to announce this in this tour. I'm telling you this right now because your question is too deep and it's very real. So we're connecting Melbourne, Sydney teenagers, Canberra, Perth teenagers, because wherever I'm going to, Islamabad, Karachi and Lahore teenagers, and English, Birmingham, Scottish, and London and Manchester, and wherever I'm going, to Houston, Toronto, Vancouver, New York, Philadelphia, Seattle. All these teenagers are going to come together, and all these 4 pillars, of course, for teenagers, there are 6 pillars. These, actually, 8 pillars. 8 different skills will be taught to them in 2 years, and every single skill will have to combine those teenagers together. The whole prospectus, the whole curriculum is laid out. We have already published it inside our company. The TDP is already running tests in our company, source code, because it required a lot more, technical input. So we got every expert together. The TDP, the Teenage Development Program, is the solution to the question as to why wouldn't the change happen? They saw videos, nothing's happening. They read books, nothing's happening. And I get that. It's not just a Muslim problem, it's a human problem. You ask the church, they're going to say the same things about their sermons. You ask the synagogues, these elders, the rabbis are going to be saying the same things about their kids. You ask the communists in China, they're going to be like, kids, just come to our sermons, nothing happens. I get it. Because they're not doing these 2-3 things. And I have all of my friends are experts in psychology. They know, they tweak and they experiment. And that's why since I don't remember, I think 16th of October was my session. I could be wrong on the Melbourne session. After that, we did deliberation over deliberation over deliberation. It took me about 4 or 5 weeks to come up with some sort of a sketch for the TDP. And now it is at some level where we can now talk about it. That's why otherwise I would be like, you know what? I'm going to answer this question a few weeks from now. I would have told you that. But now I know the TDP is real. And it requires a lot more, financial muscle. So that's why we gave it to source code. Source code has a lot of, alhamdulillah, big financial muscle from the, the corporate sector that we actually, pull money from. So it requires a lot more, and it's going to be a very specific program for only teenagers from 13 to 19, or maybe even touching the 20s, so that all of these kids can combine, generate the political acumen, 8 different skills, and they will have to get involved as a community globally, where one pillar will be hosted by Melbourne. Everyone will have to go to Melbourne for those experts to come in and teach all of those kids. Everyone will have to go to Birmingham for the other pillar, every expert which we're going to hire to go to teach those kids on those conferences. And these kids will be presenting to the world of whatever kind of skill that they're gaining. And unless they're presenting it to the world, they're not going to get excited, because now we've globalized the kids through YouTube. And unless it's global, they're not going to get the kick out of this. And if they're not going to get the kick out of this, they're not going to do anything. So it's going to be another one of those lectures. And we don't want to be it has to be a training program, not a teaching program. So the psychology is there, the science is there, and now the engineering is there as well. Now the execution is left, the whole, delivery. So we are going to announce it, inshallah, by hopefully before Canada, hopefully in Scandinavia, we will announce it because it's coming in summer. But if not, then in America, we are going to announce the TDP, because by that time, we will have a very well-established TDP program. It's a 2-year program where all the teenagers are going to take over the world, inshallah, literally take over the world, because they'll be in, hundreds, if not thousands. And if they are in thousands, then, we will have enough momentum to get the Muslims kids to take over and, overthrow the thought, the polluted thought of whoever gave it to them, Muslims or non-Muslims, and they're going to revive the whole era. And on the same 4 pillars, the political, the financial, the moral, and the mental acumen. Okay, these 4 pillars are going to come through 8 skills, and that's the plan. But those 8 skills have to be real, specific. They have to be tied with those 4 pillars, and those 4 pillars have to be tied with a timeline. If all of this happens, which is very normal in theory, we've tested it, it can happen. Well, we were testing if it can happen in 2 years. It's not going to happen in just 2 years, but this learning process is going to happen in 2 years. And in less than 3 or 4 years, we can create a global, visibility of a new machine that's going to come out. And that machine would be run by our kids, inshallah. And that machine would be making a bigger change. And they're going to be probably, inshallah, the biggest political force. And unless there are tens of thousands of kids coming together, it's not going to become that big. But if we do the psychology right, then it will have, inshallah, hundreds of thousands of kids. And if it's self-sustaining, then it could be free. But it's not going to be free initially because it's not self-sustaining right now. We need a lot more, fuel to run this machine right now. I'm just telling you because you asked such an amazingly deep question, because this is the simplest question as to why the change doesn't happen. 52 khutbahs of the Muslim masjid globally, nothing is happening. Every good, bad, weak, strong scholar of every Sunni, Shia, Hanbali, Deobandi, Maliki, Hanafi, fiqh, nothing's happening. Every political show going on in the planet, Muslims coming in, arguing, atheists, LGBTs, culture, theism, monotheism, atheism, Sweden fighting with America, America fighting with the Middle East, rivaling it up with the Desi skull, everything, nothing's happening. Everything is just a hoopla, a word, lip service, nothing else. Kids are literally laughing at their elders as to what kind of superstitious people are you. Every child is literally, of course, metaphorically, not literally, but all they're doing is just laughing it out as to, this is all just, words. They don't mean anything because nothing's actually happening. And we're arrogant enough to call our kids, or blame it on our kids that they're not focused, they're confused, they're, ignorant, they're lazy, they're procrastinate. That they're nothing but symptoms of this very disease, that we are not the representative of the action that these very words require, which we utter every single day from our mouths. And as lectures to our own kids. And our kids are like in a shock and awe of the phenomena going on, that daddy, all you do is just talk loud and high pitch, and you're yelling it out, and you yourself are the least, or actually the worst example of these very words, or the best example of what not to do. When you do give a lecture, you never perform on your own. You're not following through in your own words. Your talk to action ratio is zilch. 12-year-olds are staring at their fathers, boys in Milwaukee, in Baltimore, in Lahore, in Delhi. 12-year-old Muslim kids are staring, literally gawking at their fathers as to why the hell are you literally going against the very teachings that you gave me in the name of the Quran. So you think this is not visible to a sane man who's looking at it, who has kids of his own? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see what's going on. It just takes a little bit of guts and a lot of common sense. That's the recipe of analysis. That's the radiology of how every Muslim should be looking as to how to set the prism right. At least we can't admit the stick is broken. We're not going to fix it. We're never going to fix it. And that's why I need you all to understand that it takes guts to come to these awakening tours. That lady that she was using the word guilt, it takes guts to say that. I get slapped around by mommies and daddies most of my sessions. Literally, old folks just walk out of my sessions. So when you just come in to blame the mommy and the daddy, aapko aur koi kaam nahi, ammi abbu ko blame karte rehte hain. You want me to blame your 10-year-old? Like, who's going to take the responsibility? Islam is nothing but taking the blame, the responsibility, so that we can start to fix. And I am as Muslim and as responsible and as ashamed as any father should be. I am as a Muslim man. I have 4 kids. Alhamdulillah, 3 of them are daughters. Daughters are the finest mirror to the fathers. A daughter is the most crystal clear picture of the philosophy of the father.
Thank you so much, sir. That was like amazing. And I do agree, absolutely. These are the questions that, everyone should be asking. Don't settle into a system just because it's there. Question its credibility as to why it's there. And I do have these questions a lot. And inshallah, hopefully this TDP framework, it gets all the success that it deserves. If there's anything for people like me, who like to ask questions, ask the authorities, and ask the system. If we can help if I can help in any way, would be glad to be a part of that. But thank you so much for answering my question, sir.
No problem, sir. I really appreciate your patience and the vigor that you're showing through your words. Inshallah, it'll. You know what? We need follow-throughs. We need follow-throughs. Our kids need us to follow through our words. So let's not stop at these sessions. Let's start with these sessions. Okay. Yes, sir. Next question. Last question, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Sir, I have just one question.
Yes, sir, please.
We are trying to do. I'm in Italy. We have gathered 1,000 of people.
Italy.
Yeah. We are doing war against propaganda. We are doing protesting. Now we are moved to boycotting, and now we are we have successfully blocked a port in Italy, Genoa. We are trying to move pressure in the economic sense. So my question is simply, how can we start to direct the, the mass to do a political stay on Palestine? And can you guide us and give some kind of strategy how to balance and how to move correctly to make pressure in the economic and political sense?
Well, you're in Italy. That's center stage, because whatever you do in Italy actually, is a million times more than whatever you do in Pakistan or Africa. Okay. So I think the first job for every conscious Muslim is to first connect with other Muslims right away, and not just through social media, but through these kind of boycotts and efforts which are going to pan into some serious change. And if you only do it in Italy, it's not going to remain anywhere. But if you do it in Italy and Spain or wherever, you can connect. And if you get the English Muslims to come in together and and force these sort of because you are a living proof of concept. If you successfully did one thing, that's a proof of concept that bigger things can happen. That's going to generate not just the same or similar sort of events, but of an inspiration to think about other avenues of how we can actually make the bigger change. But I didn't get your name. Sorry, what's your name? However,
my name is Malik Shazel.
Malik Saab, this shouldn't be the only thing. This shouldn't be. It's still a reactive approach. Okay. Shutting down a port is a reaction, right? Now, I need you to understand, it's not a bad reaction. I'm not criticizing. I mean, good job. Whatever you're trying to do, you are doing. But still is a reaction. We need a lot more preemptive strikes so that our kids would know that, we're not going to wait it out or wait around. If something happens, we're going to react. That's not a Muslim mindset. Now, I know you did the right thing here. Okay. But for our kids, they should know that, they should set precedents rather than follow it. And shutting down ports is a reaction. We need to have a way bigger strategy, a lot more tangibly translated to our kids that, since this has happened, make sure nothing bigger or similar ever happens again. That's my first teaching to my kids, right? Now, I don't want my kids to, waiting down to shut out another port, because that's going to do, very insignificant damage to the global problem that Israel is causing. And now another decoy. Now, the country I'm in right now is actually at war with Yemen right now as we speak. And we all know that it's just another decoy, and they're detonating a way bigger bomb there. And that's how detonators are created. I wanted the Muslims to create a detonator, and that's what they just did. They created a detonator. And we don't even know the bigger bomb, which is about to blow. And I'm not going to talk about that bomb right now, right here. We're going to do a lot more, work on why did the UK and US go into Yemen? What is this? What is the significance of this? So what I'm trying to tell you is that you shut down a port in Milan or wherever you are. You're in Italy, right? Where are you in Italy? Okay, so any port that you're shutting down, it's still a port amongst many things that.
Yeah, we are in Geneva, and we're trying to block all the port.
Yeah, again, another reaction, right? Yeah. Reaction. Okay, good reaction. You should show force. Now, I'm not gonna say, oh, you know what? You should look at the quality of your reaction. Well, you're still trying to do something. And unless you are politically savvy, you're not going to be able to do much, because the problem that Muslims are suffering from is not going to be fixed through any city, even in New York, even in Washington, D.C., even in, London, wherever you are, you need to know that unless we have established a way bigger network of people that matter, and a lot of other people who don't matter as individuals, but matter as a number in a bigger equation of people, which of course shows number. So both of these things come together. Economically powerful people, politically powerful Muslims, economically, financially, and very mentally competent Muslims. They all have to come together. And we don't need people in billions. We just need people in hundreds of thousands. I'm telling you this right now. So if you have shut down a port, I should have known that in Pakistan. I should have known that. See, now the fact that I don't know about this means that it's an isolated event. So I know it matters in Geneva or some part of Europe, but it would have mattered and it does matter to a Pakistani Muslim. And we need to actually help you in getting a lot more, fuel into this sort of a machinery. See, I'm just talking about you as a person connected to me as a person. So
one more thing, can I just add?
Yeah,
we have done some session also in universities, but they are now blocking all the universities. And I just want to know that we can set 4 or 5 sessions in universities and hall with 400 and 500 people. If you want to come, just I want to know how to get the proper procedure and the document.
We have my team. Hassan Saab is in the 𝐶𝐍𝐃𝐎𝐍 Saab is in the meeting. You can just take his number and contact him. Okay. Well, once I am in Scandinavia, I can easily come to Italy. Don't worry, because it's the same region. Okay. Inshallah, don't worry about it. I am scheduled in Switzerland after Scandinavia, or within that tour of Switzerland. Scandinavia. So Italy is right, a stone throw away. I'll definitely come to Italy. Actually, I've received a few invitations from Italy. I did not expect Italy to be that effective in, getting in those invites to my team. So gladly, I'm at your disposal. You should know. These are free sessions. You should know that. It just takes human effort, blood and sweat, not money, to have these sort of sessions, the Awakening Tour. Okay. So let us know and we'll be there, inshallah. Okay. So, Hassan, can you contact?
Yes, sir. I
Okay.
have sent him my number.
Malik Saab, did you get the number? I think we should end the session now.
Can you don't unmute me for a second? Yeah, I got the number. Okay. And what can we do as a next move? Because we are gathering, we are doing, we are doing universities session. We are trying to connect. We are doing a lot of protests. I have connection with influencers and people who are well known in this category of speak political. So I want to know what we can do as to pressure the governments and some economic as well.
Yeah, see, you should know the kind of pieces that you have on the board. I need to know those pieces that you have on the chessboard, and then we can talk about the move. I do not know much about what's going on in Geneva or wherever you are in other places close to you, but influencers would be my first pick of the litter as well. But that's one of the many things that you have to combine together, and then we make out a strategy. Because unless you connect with just about everybody, you're not going to be able to do much. Okay, and I know you want to, and a wrong move is worse than no move. You need to understand that. You might as well just hold on to all of your moves than to make a hasty wrong move. Okay, because that ruins more than it fixes. I hope you understand that. So we should talk. Okay. So what's the time right now, Hassan? Okay. So it's about 10 o'clock in England. Let's just take one last question so that we can just round it off at 10 o'clock. Hassan, आप अपना number जो है, just write down your number in the group chat so people who want to, or whatever number you can give.
Yes, sir.
Oh, actually, it's a closed session. You can write just your number. This is not going on YouTube right now. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
So my question is it a good idea to bring an 11 and 12-year-old kid to your session?
Well, you'll be amazed as to what kind of 11-year-olds I've been actually talking to. They would be giving the session better than I am actually doing it myself, but I do not know your 11-year-old. So if he look into what kind of, comprehension that this boy or girl is at, if he's not, then don't bring him. But if he is, then yeah. Most.
So will there be some sort of, content for them to get inspired or to see how they should be leading their life in terms of being a competent Muslim, reading more about Sirah, learning more about Quran?
Their only inspiration would be the, twinkle in their father's or mother's eyes in gaining inspiration for themselves. That should be the finest slide that inspires them. Otherwise, I'm not going to be talking directly to a 10-year-old. No, they're not gonna be able to get most of what I'm going to talk about. Plus, I'm a little swift. You need to understand that. I'm a little swift, which means a lot of 61-year-olds don't even get what I'm saying. So make sure you don't push a 10-year-old or 12-year-old to come in just for the sake of being in the crowd. If he wants to be, please make sure. Kids, they come in just to have fun, and they look at the venue for other kids, and that's also it's a win-win for me. But most of the kids don't really or can't really comprehend to whatever I'm showing on the slides, or some of the sessions are not going to have slides. So just think about it before you bring your kids. Okay. 16-year-olds, of course. Some 15-year-olds, of course. But the lower you get, the more they're gonna be probably bored. Okay, then inspired. Good question though. Quick question, छोटे वाले सवाल, small questions. You can take more questions.
Hello.
Yes.
Assalamualaikum.
Awesome.
Sir, I have a question regarding you said to recreate your sessions on your dining table, right? So मेरा question ज़्यादातर देसी प्रॉब्लम रखता है, क्योंकि यहाँ पर ये होता है कि घर वाले जो है वो डिस्कशंस करने के लिए तैयार ही नहीं होते, तो बहुत प्रॉब्लम
यहाँ पे
मुझे
कहाँ पे?
फेस करनी, मतलब पाकिस्तान या इंडिया, इस एशियन कंट्रीज
आप
में
किधर हैं?
जो सर पाकिस्तान,
किधर?
सर कराची।
ओके, आप पूछें सवाल।
तो सर इसको किस तरीके से हम, मतलब सब घर वालों को किस तरीके से इन डिस्कशंस के ऊपर लेकर आए, क्योंकि मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम फेस होती है जब मैं कोई टॉपिक अच्छे से समझना चाहती हूँ तो मुझे डिस्कशन रिक्वायर्ड होती है।
You were talking about your parents या फिर बच्चों की who are you talking about?
सर हस्बैंड और इन-लॉज।
Okay, in-laws, I'm not sure, but husband, are you telling me you cannot inspire your husband? That's what you're saying? Into talking about, religion and deen and, missionary work. That's what you're saying? ये बता रही हैं आप?
यस सर।
How old are you?
सर आई एम 30।
Then that's your fault. You should learn how to inspire. The easiest man to inspire is a husband for any woman in the world. That's a little surprising for me, because he's looking for inspiration from his wife. I mean, you know about this man more than anyone else knows about this man. So I cannot tell you how to inspire that guy, but you should tell me how to inspire your husband rather than me telling you how to inspire your husband. You know what I'm saying? But just as a formula, let me tell you that you should be talking about your kids and their future in terms of akhirah repeatedly. Once you talk about your kids' akhirah repeatedly, the status of your children in akhirah, he's going to go through that sort of a meltdown. You need that meltdown. We all need that meltdown. Okay.
Alaikum warahmatullah.
Alaikum salam warahmatullah.
So just a quick question. Why are we not talking about the interest rate boycotting? We are boycotting the Coca-Colas and everything, like Starbucks and McDonald's. The interest rate, we all know, goes down to the bigger part where the wars are also being financed and everything. Why are we not talking about that? I'm just curious.
Interest rates?
Yeah, on the mortgage, on everything, on the credit card as well. Like everyone is using in the West, in the Middle East as well, in America. Every single one have the mortgage. They are paying a lot of interest, and the interest rate is at its highest right now. Why are we not talking about this? Why are we not boycotting it? Why are we not just boycotting it and say, okay, we're not paying the interest rate, because that is the main bloodline of the Jewish Zionist fundamentals. If you know what I mean.
True. No, you know what? It's called a mechanical issue. I'll tell you why it's called a mechanical issue. Because I don't think there's a Muslim alive in this planet who does not know how wrong this whole business is, right? Being a part of this system of mortgages and credit cards and car loans and student loans and whatnot. I think every Muslim knows. It doesn't take a Muslim to know this. I mean, everybody knows. But Muslims know that this is as as low as it gets. So once you have a clarity of thought and still some sort of a problem, that just goes to show, the fact that they're under the tutelage of some other thought process or some other philosophy. I get it. But Muslims in general, they know that, they're doing it because of their own weakness or whatever it's coming from, but they know it's wrong. And it is not a matter of confusion. There is no Muslim that I've ever known, and I'm pretty sure you would agree, I hope that you agree with me, that you've never met a Muslim who does not agree that, yeah, इससे बुरा काम कोई नहीं, this is it. But मैं कर रहा हूँ क्योंकि ये मजबूरी तो वो मजबूरी तो वो मजबूरी. Okay, I get the list, but this is not a problem which is under the category of confusion in Muslims. My job is to make sure clarity comes through windows which are shut down and are confusing our kids. Our kids are going to be confused as to what kind of character our fathers and mothers have. कि वो गलत तो है, सूद फिर भी उसमें involved है. Kids are naturally going to be like, तो क्यों बताते हैं गलत है? Why are you saying it's wrong when you're doing it? And when they're going to turn 25 to 30, they're going to realize, yeah, it is wrong, and I know now why my father was into it. Most of the parents that I ever spoke to are into mortgage and who have a second mortgage going on now because of the college tuition of the kids. They're saying that, you know what, we're doing it so that our kids wouldn't have to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's that settlement that they've already have made. And I'm just talking about those Muslims who have a settlement. Most of the Muslims are just trying to, it's called the ostrich effect. They know it's wrong. They just shove their neck inside the sand. It's like, you know what, let's see if I survive. And if I do, I'm not going to be proud of it. But, I'm just going to do it. I'm doing it because there's X and Y and Z reasons. So if you're asking me if I want to talk about this, no, I'm not. Because it is not something which, I'm not going to use this session as a whip of such a, manner which is going to trigger some sort of a resistance as to, because the classical scholarship has done an amazing job. Everybody knows how wrong and how bad and how filthy this interest business is. And if I go into discussing those lanes as to why people are into mortgages, they're going to miss out on the train, which I'm trying to actually launch from these stations, because they'll think that, you're telling us something which we already know. And we've actually made a very big, deeper settlement as to why we're doing it. And we already know it's wrong. But your placement as Sahil Adeem or the source code or IMS, or that was to actually create a bigger change so that we wouldn't have to do these sort of justifications. Okay. So I'm all for whatever you said. I swear to God, I wish more people would talk about boycotting any and every bank which has these sort of products, or, cars which are on, car loans, or homes which are on first and second or even third mortgage, or any kind of business that actually, because it's not about Zionism. Boycotting any sort of interest-based product is not to boycott or cut down the legs of Zionism. It is to make sure we as Muslims, get to even smell the fragrance of paradise, because he's not going to even smell the fragrance of paradise if he's into this. He won't even know if paradise even ever existed. It's that big of a problem. And that's why I'm telling you that no Muslim I've ever met has ever, been confused as to whether mortgage is halal or not. Well, now that we're talking about mortgage, now I'm meeting a lot of Muslims. I don't know, this new fatwa is coming or whatever, that mortgage is halal, but mortgage is not. There is no way to confuse. And whoever is giving avenues as to thinking about this, that's the guy I might talk about. That's not the guy, but the thought. But I'm not going to say, let's just spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour on why interest is the problem. I am going to talk about the economics of things, and I use this as I catapult the Islamic system argument by using one of these examples as how as to how our kids should look at what is the system, and economics is about 60% of the system, any system, and economics is run by interest here. And Allah Azza wa Jalla has told us, you know what, this is not allowed, and this is the worst of the worst things. So it literally, reciprocates as a system. And since, you can understand the system of, all of these banks and all of these financial companies, institutions, sorry, you can understand the system of Islam. I use that as an example, and that makes perfect sense to a lot of kids. And university kids are literally, very well describing or recreating these arguments in their clusters. So if kids can get it, I think everybody can get it. So I use these as examples. I will try my best to use, so that another reminder goes into the audience as to why they should not be taking out mortgages or, different loans, especially from for their, matters of luxury, which is a house or a car or a second house or a second car. So, that's all I can do, because I'm hoping to get the bigger picture as to, why I don't really spend more time into it. G, last question, please. Okay, I think we're done with the questions. I think everyone's done. Hassan, thank you so much for hosting this session. And I'll see you guys all over England, from Birmingham to Manchester, Newcastle, Scotland, Glasgow, and Bradford, 2 times in London, inshallah, from on the 19th of January to and the 10th of January. And if I missed out on anything, please go through the posters. Tomorrow I'm going to Crawley. You can be there as well. And there are, multiple other meetups. And whoever wants to arrange any session during these dates till the 10th of February, please contact our team right away. And let's crack on with the Awakening Tour. Thank you so much for your time and patience. I really appreciate everybody who comes in together and engages and tries to do whatever they can for the sake of their kids and for the sake of all of our kids. Akhira. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you, sir.